a bit of a historic day to wake up to, and the news broke last night that Forest Green Rovers have named the first female boss of a men's professional football side. The League Two side sacked Duncan Ferguson on Tuesday after just 6 months in charge, and Forest Green announced Hannah Dingley, the club's academy coach, would be put in caretaker charge for the first team. So this is a kind of landmark move. It's never happened before. Yes, it is caretaker manager, but it's a big step in the right direction when it comes to women working in football. Something that I know we're all very different. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yep.
But I can't understand why this is still such a barrier that women have to break down, and men can't understand, or men, not all men, sorry, I'll speak out of tone there, but not all men can understand why women cannot work in football because they haven't worked with men before. Whereas in the women's game, we have a billion male managers working in women's football. I don't understand the crossover, so I think this is a huge jump today. She initiated the club's Girls Academy, Hannah Dingley, which was launched in 2021. She also has her UEFA Pro licence, which is of course needed, and previously worked at Burton Albion as well. They went on to say, Dale Vince, of course the club chairman, in a statement, quite progressive thinking guy, he said, this was our natural choice for Hannah to be the first team interim head coach. She's done a fantastic job leading her academy, as well as aligned with the values of our club. It's perhaps telling for the men's game that in the making of this appointment on merit, we're going to break new ground. That's the thing, they've been brave. They've made the first appointment. We've been waiting, we've been wondering when it's going to be happening. A lot of people are still looking and going, this will never happen in men's football, it will never happen. I know it's coming, and now it's absolutely happened, and I think it's brilliant. It's a brilliant move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised in the slightest that it's happened at Forest Green Rovers for what you said about Dale Vince. He is, a very forward thinking and also a different thinking guy, isn't it? So I don't think we should be surprised it's happened where it's happened. It is massive. It's incredibly significant. And, the goal and the dream is for everyone is, when we've talked about this week about the number of black managers, we still have conversations about, a gay player coming out whilst they're still playing in, say, for instance, the Premier League. Eventually we want to have these conversations where this isn't news. It's just a woman managing a football team, whether they're men or women. It's just a guy, whether he's gay or straight, playing football. Do you know what I mean? Eventually we don't need to be having these conversations because it's just the norm. But you still have to have the people who are the first to have done it. And for Hannah now, this is massive news. And I'll be honest, I knew nothing of her before the news, but she's got a UEFA licence. As you said, she's worked with Burton before. And I think for me, Shebahn, there are still big differences in terms of managing a men's football team and a women's football team. Usually in terms of just maybe the experiences and the differences, particularly in the men's professional side of things. Whether they're subtle differences but make an ultimate big difference, I'm not really too sure. But I think it's significant that Hannah has worked with men's teams before.
Can I ask what those differences might be? Is it the fact that men are different to women, and I
do think that is part of it. I do. And I was listening and I've heard bits and pieces that Simon Jordan said yesterday. And whilst obviously I don't agree with everything that he said, I do think, and again, I listened to Faye White as well, speaking to the Moose about this as well, that when Phil Neville was in charge of the men's team, and why it's different now with Serena Wiegmann, that, when Phil's education and knowledge of being a professional and what he achieved in the game, it's completely different to the experiences that the women would have had when they were coming up. And do you know what I mean? You can flip that back round again with a woman who maybe hasn't had the same experiences of playing professional or managing professionals. And then you're now asking her to do the same thing with men's footballers. There are differences there. Now, look, that's not to say that she can't be successful. And if she is, then it will absolutely lead the way for more women to come through. But my concern is that if Hannah isn't successful, does that then knock us back, another year, another 2 years? Because if this goes really badly at Forest Green, and obviously, look, fingers crossed, I really hope it does go well, it could end up being, Shebahn, actually damaging, couldn't it? If she goes really badly, then other chairmen, other owners are going to be more reluctant to then put a female in charge.
The pressure on Hannah at this moment in time is that she's the first woman to ever have done it, right? That's the pressure. She's brave for making this move and accepting the job and going and doing it, but that is her job. Instantly, she's going to go into the club tonight and do this friendly against Melksham and probably do the job that she set out to do. Her gender should never come into this. This is football. It's a game for everyone. However, in men's football, we don't see it as acceptable for women to manage because women haven't worked with men before. And I find that mind-boggling. It's the same sport. They do the same thing. Actually, women learned a lot from men's football. That's why women's football is where it is today. So repay that opportunity. I don't understand the report that come out, the limitations against black managers, the limitations against women. They're trying to reflect society. Football is the game that we all love, but it is so limited to who you can be in football, and women really aren't welcome in men's football, and I find it just so bizarre. And actually look at the turmoil of Chelsea Football Club over the last couple of years, and I think shame on them that they've overlooked the likes of Emma Hayes, who has just been an outstanding manager, an outstanding advocate of the club, one of the best leaders, one of the best scientists at going deep and finding out what's next. How can she better her team? How can she move on to the next level? How can she keep her players injury free? How can she bring out the best of them? She is the best. You've got Serena Wiegmann, who's just won 2 back-to-back Euros and could go in and win a World Cup. What is it? Why have we not tapped into these women in football and understood what they do differently? Is it because they work with women? Because that makes no sense to me. It's still the same game. You've gone into this tournament now, France, with Reynolds, who was the Saudi Arabia manager at the FIFA Men's World Cup in Qatar. He was the men's manager. Saudi Arabia is now taking over France. Nobody's batted an eyelid. Nobody cares because he's welcoming women's football. There's still this barrier towards women in football here in this country that they're not accepted because it's a man's game, and that's what it all comes down to. The fact that this barrier has now been broken, and Hannah Dingley is now interim caretaker of Forest Green Rovers, is the start. I think there's many more to come, and she's referenced that as well. She said the difference now when you look at Emma Hayes, Serena Wiegmann, even Casey out in the United States now as well from leaving Manchester United. There's so much talent out there, untapped talent. We hear men in football men in the women's game talking about how they lean on the women to get the best out of their players as well. It's different. We're all very, very different, but we're going to see it now, and that is key. Also, Hope Powell going to work with England youth players as well. We are seeing now that bit more of a move, but it's taken somebody brave like Dale Vince and Forest Green Rovers to make the first move. You're right, Jake. It could easily backfire.
Yeah, and that's a fear. This isn't me saying that she's not going to be capable of doing the job, and I would never go out and say that it's a man's game, because it's not. You are right. But as I said, it's the barriers that you have to break down, and I'm pleased and I'm happy that this has happened. But I'm fearful that it's not successful, because I do think that then knocks you back. And again, you can the comparisons I talk about, in terms of black managers and then gay footballers. That if a gay footballer comes out and he receives a big backlash, it stops other people doing the same.
Just imagine that happened. Imagine a footballer came out tomorrow and he got backlash.
Exactly.
It would blow my tiny mind.
So if Forest Green now start the season and lose the first 5 games, it's going to knock back other female and women managers from getting opportunities in the men's game. And look, should that be the case? No, of course it shouldn't be. You're either qualified and you're good enough, or you're not. But that's the fear. I obviously hope she is successful. I really genuinely do mean that. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see, because she's interim at the moment as well, isn't she?
Yeah.
So she's got to get the job.
It's interim caretaker manager. Yeah. But it's a huge, bold move, and it's the right move, I do believe. And men managers fail in football all the time, and they often get another opportunity.
Yeah, of course.
If she fails, she will learn. That's how we do learn, and that's how we better ourselves and move forward. I don't think it should stop any women coming into male management jobs moving forward because one person, the first person, might have failed. Interested to know your thoughts on this, really, truly and honestly. I've been just reading some of the comments on our social media at talkSPORT, and it's a shambles. I mean, really, if you write these tweets, check yourself. Honestly, you've got to be single for the rest of your life. 810 89, you can let us know your thoughts at talkSPORT and social media as well. You're listening to Early Breakfast. Congratulations, by the way, to Hannah Dingley. We support you here.